Alright, back at to buttoning up some of the rest of the stuff for the Falcon. Obviously, this whole wiring harness is going to get gone through, shortened, cleaned up a little bit. But for right now, I'm just trying to get everything dialed in where I need it for runnability. I did put a brand new thermostat in here if you look at the intake manifold and thermostat install video. However, the brand new thermostat is not functioning. I had it running for a little bit yesterday, overflowed, was not opening, and stuck in the closed position. So I'm going to take the thermostat off. I might try and throw the headers on today and see if they're even going to fit. I haven't decided if I want to do that now or if I want to just wait till I get it over to the shop to do that up on the lift. Do the headers and the exhaust all in one go, which seems to make a little bit more sense than switching them out just to switch them back. But that'll be fine either way. I got the oil line run into the cab for the oil pressure gauge. I got one of these fancy deals, fancy cheapo Amazon budget gauge cluster. Hopefully that should work. I did have a digital gauge, this one on there yesterday while I was running it. That worked. I got this for the transmission. Since I am running an AOD, I want to have a pressure gauge just to kind of monitor and make sure. It'll also help with a little bit more of the tuning on that TV cable when I get around to putting that in. I have a carburetor bracket coming, throttle cable, TV cable bracket coming for a dual. Gonna try one of those cheapo Amazon ones, see how they work. I know they're set up for Hollies. Read a couple reviews saying they don't fit Edelbrock, saw a couple other ones that said they do, so I will update you when that gets here. But other than that, she starts up really easy. She runs pretty good. Just got to do thermostat, and then I'm going to try and get most of this gauge stuff laid out today. So I just looped up a hot lead that I'm going to run off the starter relay. This will run over through the firewall into there, and then I will link up all of these for power. So I'll update you in a little bit. Okay, so we got the new thermostat in behind the housing here. I had it running yesterday, wasn't leaking, so that's good to go, or should be good to go. We'll find out a little bit later. I need to run to the parts store now and grab a couple of those little plastic zip ties for mounting the cooling fan on this radiator. I also need to make a spacer kit because the mechanical temp gauge is too long, even with the singular brass adapter. This is too long on the intake manifold. It still hits the bottom and bottoms out before I can actually tighten anything down. Thought about doing this one. This port won't work either because this one will hit the backside of the thermostat, and I don't want to have anything close to that thermostat. Give that the best chance of working as possible. Oil pressure line is run. I'm running a cheapo plastic one now. I'll switch that out for a copper one or brass one at some point. So basically just stop at the parts store, grab some fittings, 3/8 MPT, kick this up a little, or maybe even a T1, need like a, I don't know, 1 inch, inch and a half male, and a female with a 3/8 MPT fitting. Then I can run the adapter and the sensor should drop right in, so it'll kick this up a little bit higher. Might not look the prettiest, but it should work. Other than that, like I said, oil pressure gauges are all hooked up on the inside of the car. I ran power to these as well. They're just kind of resting where the CD player used to be. We even have lights. So basically what I did was looped all of the white wires there into a single spade connector, so all 3 gauges are run to one spot. That then has power coming from the post on the starter solenoid for the coil. So when you click the key on, it's 12 volts from this terminal into the cab, 12 volts to the coil, and just a singular ground off of the bottom side of the dash. So we're pretty much getting there. Once I get the coolant temp sensor hooked up and the fan hooked up, I'm gonna grab a toggle switch. I'm not gonna run a fan relay yet. I know a lot of people say you gotta have a fan relay. If I can find a 20 amp toggle rocker switch or something for the inside of the car, I'm gonna run that. I haven't had any issues on my truck. We'll see. If it shorts out or pops a fuse, I'll put a fuse in it obviously, but if it pops the fuses or anything like that, then I'll look into running a separate relay for that. Drop a relay somewhere over in that vicinity. Other than that, I like having them on a toggle. I can kind of control it a little bit better. Part of the getting warm issues could have been because I have no cooling whatsoever on this. I do still have the new balancer to put in. which would probably be a lot easier before I mount the fan, but it is what it is. It starts easy, runs easy right now. Those little details. There's water in the radiator, so draining it's not really that big of a deal. But that's where we're at now. We go to work, get some work done at the shop, and then try and hit the parts store on the way home, see if I can slap some of this together. Also have a bike show today up in Milwaukee. I think I'm taking the chopper up to high voltage. Haven't decided fully yet. I really kind of could use the time to play on this, but kind of running out of days. We're coming into mid-September here, and would like to get some miles on. I know there's a bunch of people trying to go out there for that I haven't really seen all summer because I've been messing around with the stupid cars, which would be nice to see people, but I don't necessarily want to go on a gigantic group ride. Either way, we'll keep you posted. Well, we're back at it, making a ton of progress and getting absolutely little things. It's just tedious and doesn't really make it seem like I've done a whole lot. I got the temp sensor back in with some Home Depot, Menards, whatever, parts store, generic parts. Got everything slapped together on that. Should work in theory. Everything's run, power's hooked up. And I got the electric fan that I got sitting, it's just resting here. I'm waiting on a delivery for the little zip tie deals, the fan zip ties, oil cooler, trans cooler, little push through things. Quick, cheap, down and dirty, nice, functional. Got everything wired for the fan. I got it hooked up to the hot side on the battery, and then I'm running a ground through the switch. I got a 30 amp fuse in line here. Then started messing around with the throttle cable, drilled a hole in the firewall, ran the extra cable because I had one of these. The inner is gone, but I have a new one to use the inner out of. So recycling parts, waiting on the carb support bracket before I can finalize that. This one's way too long, definitely gonna have to cut that down. But then if we move around to the inside, there's the new Mr. Gasket, super high quality throttle cable. And I got the gas pedal mounted. I don't know exactly if that's gonna work. That seems like plenty of throw now. The only issue I ran into on this is up there. I have this pretty much lined up in line at the top of the pedal. I don't know if that'll focus. That little aluminum bolt with the hole in it. The pedal's gonna line up right through there. Got that all lined up really nice. But with the original bolt in the kit, it was too long, so the pedal would only return to about here. Just cut off the end of the head on the threads on the bolt, rounded it off, cleaned it up, tightened everything down. It's still not like tight, but now the pedal will kick way up. So I got about 3.5 inches of travel. I think that's more than enough that I will need to open up the carb all the way. We'll verify that once we start messing around with that. But gauges are hooked up. Here's the fan wire. I got two leads here. One goes to a ground. The other one is actually the ground from the fan. So if I bridge these two together, it will actually turn the fan on. It's just dangling there, so I'm not going to do that. And I'm just waiting on the 30 amp toggle. So put a toggle in line there, figure out where I'm going to mount that somewhere on the dash, and that will do it. Other than that, not a whole lot more, but if I can get this throttle cable, open up this one, trim it down to size. I'm probably going to wait for the bracket, but once I get the bracket, then I'll have full throttle function in the car, make it much easier to start. I won't have to open the hood, pump the car a bunch of times. Should be able to do everything from on the inside. Then we'll hook up the cooling fan, leave that running, and do a final full hard break-in on this. Just let it sit, run, idle for the full time instead of quick starts here and there. Well, I spent the day putting together a 4-speed ratchet top for a buddy of mine, giving him a hand going through the thing. He had some issues tightening down the thing, the sprocket. Made everything get tight, didn't want to turn. So we got that sorted out, figured out one of the bearings slid past when he was putting the 4th gear, main drive in. Got all the parts to finish the accelerator, well, the throttle linkage, and the cable for the Falcon, but it has been downpouring all day. The Falcon's now drowning in a lake. That's actually a little bit down from where it was. It was about up to the rim before. But that'll pretty much conclude this video for now, just because it's supposed to rain all night and tomorrow, so I will not have a chance to work on this thing until it dries up a little bit. I got a couple things I gotta do underneath the car, but that lake takes a little while to dry out, and I'm not gonna lay in the lake because I don't care that much. I did do a final break-in on the motor yesterday before we took the bike out, ripped around up, hit up that high voltage show. I might do a quick little time-lapse thing of that show. It was a pretty good time. I didn't get a ton of footage because I don't really like walking around with my phone out most of the time, hanging out, catching up with people I haven't seen in a while. But we did break the motor in, a full heat cycle, full run situation. It was getting a little on the warm side. It was hot yesterday in direct sun. Started spraying the radiator with the hose, kept that cool enough, I think, and then now I can turn the idle back down, get the throttle hooked up, TV cable hooked up, finish up those little last odds and ends. But there you have it. Like, comment, subscribe, all of those fun things. I appreciate it. I'm trying to grow this a little bit. And comments, feedback, critiques give me a little bit more motivation. So thanks for watching. Take it easy.